Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 302. Today we're going to talk about Star Wars the card game, which is, well, it's not old, but like in terms of like being a reviewer and reporting on a game or whatever, it's old. Everybody has pretty much reviewed the game and talked about it. I had a somewhat kind of interest in the game. Obviously I'm a big Star Wars fan, and you know, it was an LCG, but back about when this came out, I was still playing Netrunner, still play Mage Wars today. You know, I have Battlelore, which I still play today. Probably some other games that are two-player sort of head-to-head battle games. So the reviews initially for this, even from the people that really liked it, were a little bit sort of, I don't know, mediocre or lukewarm. So I wasn't really super keen on picking it up, but I will tell you more about how I came to acquire the copy at the end, but let me talk about how it works. I do enjoy the game, so a little spoiler there, sorry about that. But I will talk about that, and then I'll tell you more about what my thoughts are about this game. Okay, so here is a little bit of the components that you get with the game. Now I do have a little bit of extra of the damage markers, the focus tokens, and the shield tokens up there, because I do actually have two core sets worth of stuff. But I'm just going to show you the starter decks here. These are kind of like the beginner decks. So you can see you have two light side decks here. We've got a Rebel Alliance card here, and a Jedi card, and then we have a Sith and Imperial Navy. You've got the Death Star here, which is the dark side is trying to get up to 12, and then we've got this little balance of the Force token here. So we've got dark side and light side as well, and then you have these Force cards here that you're going to be attaching to various characters and things. Now the game does come with various like data packs and other expansions and things that you can get. This is everything I think to like through the Hoth cycle, and then like the first sort of big expansion. All of that fits in here decently. Not a whole lot of room, you know, for a lot more stuff. Everything kind of messed up here because I just opened it all, but there's room just to put in the core box. In terms of like what you should get if you were a starting player, I mean, one box is actually pretty good. Now I will make some more comments about this in terms of the review. In terms of the competitive scene, I don't have any experience myself personally, but I've talked to several people about it, and they have seemed to indicate almost split down the line, I would say. You don't really need a second core set. Now, a lot of people, the other 50%, say you should get a core set if you're going to play competitively. But after the core set, for the most part, you get enough of every card that you can, you know, legally put in your deck. There is one set after that. Gosh, the name is escaping my mind, where you have to get two of them. Actually, I only have one of those here. But to me, this is not a game I'm interested in playing competitively, but we'll talk about that more in the review. Let's talk a little bit about how the game works. Now, this is a little bit of a mess here to show you, because they are two very distinct, in a lot of ways, asymmetrical sides, because you can't have light versus light, at least as far as I know. There may be a rule or something in some of the expansions that allow you to do that, but for the most part, you have light versus dark. And as I said earlier, the dark side is trying to get their Death Star counter to 12. So it's going to start at 0, and it's going to tick up once on the first round of the game anyway. But then the object of the Rebel players of the light side is to destroy these objectives here. Now, if you know anything about the game, I'm going to be kind of brief here, because Fantasy Flight does have a full-blown, like, you know, 25-minute exhaustive tutorial. But the way that you deck build is you take these objective cards here, and you can see here that this here is going to attach with it 5 other cards that are going to go into your main deck. So we have the Black Squadron Assault, and with that we've got here the 5 cards. So that is basically a TIE Fighter card, and here we've got here number 21. So I'm on the leader. This is just a little action card here. Here we've got an actual vehicle here, Vader's TIE Advanced. You can see it goes with that. So once you add that objective, here's a pilot, to your deck, then you go ahead and add the pack there, so the other 5 cards. So the deck building is very easy. It's like, okay, I want some TIE Fighter stuff, you know, I want some Palpatine cards or whatever. You don't have to really worry about it too much. Now you can double up on these, which is why you want the second core set, if you want to, you know, have every option available to you for this. But so that's a very, very awesome way of deck building. And I got to tell you, I'm going to kind of gush over this game throughout the rest of the review, because there's a lot of elements to this I really like, and I'm like, I really wish I was playing this earlier, because I would have liked to have been playing this for the last year, not just like the last month. So that's a cool aspect of how the game works. Now, players, what they're going to do is we're going to check the balance of the force on your turn. And each player has these force cards here, and these you'll attach to different characters. So here's the light side here, and each player has up to 3. Now this is not a light decision that you have to make, because once you attach this to that character, it's going to cost you more focus or more mana or more energy. This is the resource in the game here, these tokens, to activate that character. Now they're going to contribute to the force only if they are active. They don't have any force tokens on top of them. So there's a definite choice there between, hey, I'm going to use this character for, you know, lots of combat and cool battles or defense, or I'm going to put him on the force and try to swing the balance of the force. So there's a real, you know, dynamic choice available there. And once this is attached, you can't pull it off until that, you know, that character goes away. So for example, if we take a look at Palpatine here, Palpatine has quite a lot of stuff going on. So these icons here are sort of the level of the Force. So if we look at here, all these different cards here, you know, some of them are weak in the Force, like the Rancor. He just, you know, he's not with the Force that much. But Palpatine's got a ton. But he's also got a lot of different various attack abilities, and then he's also got, you know, this little special effect here. So, but if we focus him, or excuse me, attach him and make him kind of one with the force there, he's really going to help sway the balance and keep the balance to the dark side versus the light side there. So I love that aspect of it. So the first thing you're going to do on your turn is you're going to check the balance of the force. And if it's the dark side's turn, you're actually going to tick the Death Star 1 extra. So you always tick at least 1, but then you maybe will tick another 1 plus 1 if you have the force on your side. And this is really going to put the pressure on the light side player to attack you. And this is another you know, mechanic that's really cool. It's like a timer built into the game, you know, that you can manipulate. You can focus on this timer. You can focus on building up forces for defense and a certain level of attrition, you know, by the dark side to sort of outlast and you know, wit and, you know, try to force back the rebels. So after you check the balance of the force, then you are going to refresh. So one of the cool things about this game is how the energy system works in sort of the mana system. So if you look at your objectives, these each can generate 1 resource, and everybody has their little faction card, and those will generate 1 resource. So if I want to spend, and let's see, the cost here to put Palpatine in is, as you can tell, there's 6. So I don't have enough quite yet. I've only got 4 possible resources. But when I do that, I go ahead and spend and put focus tokens on these, like so. So I could do, you know, 4 mana worth of stuff. Well, some of these cards, for example, here, this is Coruscant, the Heart of the Empire. This has, you know, available 3, you know, resource slots, so to speak. So if I put a bunch of resources on this, then I could maybe pay for Palpatine. So I've got 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I could pay for him and he could come out. Then when you refresh, you take 1 off of each of these, like so. But since this has resources on it, it's still exhausted. You can't add focus tokens and use it to pay for anything if there's any on here. You've got to wait another 2 rounds for this to be empty, and then you can go and pay as much as you want. You know, you could put 1 on there, you could put all 3 on this one, or kind of, you know, trickle it around and stuff like that. And that's a really interesting way to do the resource system. So anyway, after you check the balance of the force, then you're going to refresh and pull off 1 token off of each of these. Some of these guys up here, like if we had used Palpatine, for example, we also would mark him here with a focus token as well. So these will also come off of your characters, and what other cards out here, you know, may have focus tokens on them. Now after that, we go into the draw phase, and this is interesting because you can, if you want, discard 1 card from your hand, and then you draw back up to your limit. And that is normally 6 cards. You can see here starting reserve is 6. You can get other objectives out and other cards that will, you know, change that limit. But you may have also spent cards on your opponent's turn, so you may not even have 6 to be able to decide there. But if you want, you can discard 1 and then you draw back up to 6. And then you gotta go into the meat of the phase, the deployment. This is very simple, like any card game. You know, you've got actions here. This costs 1, so if I wanted to play this, you know, I just play it and discard it for its effect, and maybe put, you know, a token here on my faction card, and then you just do whatever it says. So what's this one say? Place 1 focus token on target enemy fighter unit. So this is kind of you know, distracting, you know, possibly an X-wing or something like that. So you got to put a focus token on it, so it's basically exhausted for the rest of that turn until they can unfocus it. And here you can get into play Vader's TIE Advanced. And then here you can see the icons. This is what's going to be used in combat, and you have a couple of different special abilities on these things. These here are different. So all of these other cards here you can deploy during the deployment phase. Now if you have the text at the top, this is actually a force card. So when you go to check the balance of a force in the battle, these are cards that you will kind of like sort of hide and put in your deck sort of as a surprise. So I'll explain that in a minute, but you basically have the two types of cards. All these that you can deploy, various locations, like you can get this guy out, it costs 2 to get it out, but you can see it's going to give you an extra location, an extra resource to spend, and all that kind of cool stuff. That's a force choke, all kinds of cool stuff from the movies. And then you've got conflict. Now in conflict, what you're doing is you're targeting a specific objective. Now the Empire can target the Rebel objectives or the light side objectives and vice versa. And again, the object of the light side is to destroy at least 3 of these. And so you declare your target. So I maybe say, well, okay, Palpatine or I am attacking here the Forgotten Heroes objective. And then we declare who's attacking and who's blocking, and then we'll resolve the combat there. Now let's say the Empire player here, he wanted to attack Forgotten Heroes. And so at that point, he's going to declare who's attacking. So I'll say maybe a Palpatine, he's going to bring along his Emperor's Royal Guard. And then as the defending light side player, I'll say, let's say Obi-Wan defends, or I could leave the Twi'lek out, or I can say both. So let's just say both are defending there. So we've got a sort of a 2 versus 2 battle. And then you're going to go into the edge battle, which frankly, when I first heard about it, I thought was very, very wonky, almost gimmicky. But now that I've played it, I'm like, this is amazing. This is really, really cool way of doing the battle. So what you do is you take a card out of your hand, and then you just put it face down. And what you're trying to do is add here these little force points to your battle. So if I had here Luke, where's the good one? So here's Luke here. So you can see he's got his 3 force points there, or you've even got here your Yoda, who's got, what was that, 5? And so you can add it. So you can put a card face down, and then maybe the dark side player puts a card face down, maybe puts Vader's TIE Fighter in there. You also have these fate cards, and so you can see these will actually trigger when you reveal them, when you reveal the stack of edge cards, and this will do something and maybe cancel out the current edge battle and restart the battle, or give you like an instant quick damage or something like that. Now when you reveal the stack, if there are multiple fate cards, you're going to reveal them in order like so, and then you're going to count all of the force icons, and whoever has the most is going to get the initiative in the battle. So you're going to be able to attack first. So that's very, very important, because you can apply your damage, before your opponent. But again, you have this choice to make here. Luke is great in combat. He's got a lot of combat icons. He's got that 3 is not too shabby. He's got a after your opponent turn begin, remove 1 focus token from this unit, so he's able to get rid of focus and be ready more often. And then Yoda, of course, here, he's probably better suited, in my opinion, for the force battle, but he's decent in a battle. You want to get extra enhancements on him to beef him up. So there's a real choice to make here again about do I use it for the edge battle or actually out on the board. Now let's say the light side player had won. He's going to choose one of his characters there, and then he's going to go ahead and put a focus token on that character, and that character will exert his attack. Now the other cool thing about the edge battle is we're going to look at these icons here. Now Palpatine has these 3 black icons, so these are always going to happen when you use him in a battle. These icons are going to apply, and I'll tell you what the icons are in a second. Now these white ones are only going to apply if your side has won the edge battle. So in this case, this Twi'lek is useless pretty much in battle unless you won the edge battle, because these 2 attack icons are not going to actually do anything. So when you do that, you're going to apply damage in different ways based on the icons. So what the Twi'lek player might do here is, let's take a look at these icons specifically. He's got 2 here. This one will damage an opposing character, so he can do 1 damage to either of these characters here. And then he has this little tactics icon where he can actually put a focus token on an opposing character, so he can go ahead and just focus Palpatine. So Palpatine's out. He's done there. And then he can say, we'll apply 1 damage here to the Royal Guard there. So that's got 1 damage, and you can see here the health down here on the bottom, that's 3 health on the Royal Guard there. So he's on his way. So now the dark side player could go, well, Palpatine's already focused, so we can use the Royal Guard here to apply his icons. And again, he can do 1 damage to a character. He can't apply that other damage because they didn't win the edge battle. So you can apply that, and he'll probably just go ahead and hit the Twi'lek because he's got 1 health, and that will remove him from battle. So this would have been a lot better for the dark side, because then we could have the Emperor's Guard attack the Twi'lek, that'll take him out, and then Obi-Wan could go. So now it's Obi-Wan's turn, and you can see he's got a new icon that we haven't seen yet. So here's 1 damage to a character, and then these are going to be focus tokens here that he's going to apply. So you could really stack up the focus tokens on, you know, Palpatine. So we'll take him out of the loop for quite a bit, distract him. And so then we have this one here. Now this only matters if you're attacking. If the since the rebel player here is defending, it doesn't mean anything, but this actually will damage an objective. So if we were attacking here, let's say Council of the Sith as a light player, we'd go ahead and put 1 damage, and as soon as this gets 5 damage, this will be destroyed. The light player will capture it, and he'll be that much closer to victory. Now the other thing to keep in mind here is that's pretty much how the battles work, but if somebody is, you know, being committed to the Force, when they do, you know, engage in battle, then you actually have to put on an additional token. So if Palpatine hadn't been focused yet, then we could exert him. But since he's committed to the Force, we have to put 2 on there. So that, again, is where Luke comes in handy here, because, again, he can actually start removing extra tokens based on his ability. So you just go back and forth until, you know, the dark side gets to 12, or the light side destroys some of the dark side objectives. The only other component I didn't really talk about was these shields. So some of the characters and vehicles and stuff come with shields that will absorb damage. That's the basics how you play the game. A lot of the cool stuff's going to come into the interactions with the cards and all that good stuff. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the overview. Like I said, this was a game that was kind of intriguing to me. It just kind of fell off my radar. I was into playing other games of this style. But a friend of mine, Mr. Keith Collins, thank you, he sent me a box of it, a core set. Without any, you know, I didn't ask him to, you know, he just sent it. And it had pretty much all of the Hoth data cycle. So I got out and I kind of learned it a little bit, and I was like, okay, this looks really cool, but I have these other games that are coming out, and, you know, new games I want to play and review and all that. So, and then magically Fantasy Flight sent me a review copy, which has never happened before, and I was like, what? And like, you know, a little like inside baseball, like nobody gets review copies from Fantasy Flight that I've talked to, unless everybody's lying to me. So I was like, well, that's weird. Why would they send me Star Wars the card game, which is like 2 years old, to review? So I said, well, I might as well try to play this and review it. Not that I have a review copy of it. And now I have 2 core sets, and everybody says you should get 2 core sets, or they don't. And so I've been playing it, and I played it before Gen Con, and then Gen Con came. But I figured, well, let me review this now while it's fresh in my mind, and you know, it really is really good. I mean, I may like it better than Netrunner. I've heard a couple people actually say that, and I was like, nah, there's no way. Netrunner's like, you know, the king of the LCGs. But this is really, really cool. Now, if you go back and do the walkthrough, if you're just like fast forwarded to me, the walkthrough had a lot of review stuff in it. But a couple of things. I really like the resource management system. You know, how you focus and then you have to slowly peel stuff off. I love the edge battle with the Force. I love the whole committing to the Force thing. And, you know, I just like the theme of it. You know, like the greatest thing in the world is to do a edge battle, and then you go, haha, I have Palpatine, you lose, you know? And then, like, or I have Yoda, you lose. And I think the theme really comes across. I mean, one of the complaints that I heard was, well, you know, you have an AT-AT fighting a Rancor or whatever, Luke Skywalker fighting a Rancor. Well, guess what? Luke Skywalker did fight a Rancor with his X-Wing. You know, it's like, yeah, but it's like, it's the Force. So you have these different sort of plot lines that happen, and I don't know what it is. It could just be me, but I've talked to some other folks and they agree, so it's not just me. But you feel like cinematic when you have the different conflicts and battles and in locations and things happening. You feel like you're playing a movie. It's not necessarily like you know, micro scale of this guy fighting this guy. It does come across with the whole macro scale thing, and I feel like you know, I read a lot about it when it first came out. People were like, oh, you're making excuses for the game and all this. I really don't feel that. I honestly feel like the theme of this really is present. And a lot of that has to do with the whole choice aspect. And that's one thing that you don't usually see in an LCG style game or a TCG style game, is the cards having multiple uses. And that is very, 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 very cool. I really enjoy that part of the game, because usually it's like I have a creature and the creature is the creature, or I have a block of ice and the ice is the ice, right? But I don't have a guy that can be, you know, a badass on the field. He can be a lot of force points. I can commit him to the force, etc. So you have a lot of that stuff going on. That makes it great. I love hand management. I love San Juan, Race for the Galaxy, Imperial Settlers, all that kind of cool stuff. That's now in the LCG, and I love the deck building, all this stuff. Now, the one thing I'm waiting on, I'm going to try to play it this way, is they have the, gosh, what is it? It's the Balance of the Force. There's one that allows multiplayer. So I'm going to try to do that. And whenever I get around to that, I'll try to review that. And because that's the one thing that's neat about, like, you know, what is it? Game of Thrones as multiplayer, and there's another one. Well, Imperial Settlers is kind of an LCG, or it's supposed to be. That's a new one. So that's a nice thing. Now, this is just 2-player right now, but if a game like this could also actually work multiplayer, that is a better shot at staying in my collection personally. Because like I don't play Netrunner competitively, I just don't have time, and I'm not very good at it. And so, if this was staying a 2-player game, I have other 2-player games I would rather play, honestly. I'd rather play Battle Lore, I'd rather play Mage Wars. There's a couple others probably here. But this is a really good game. I would recommend it. Now, I have talked to people, last point here, is people that have played it, you know, somewhat competitively have said there are a lot of issues. I've talked to a few people, and they volunteered this information very readily to me. No, competitive is broken. But as I said, I think if you were to just play this kitchen table, you know, casual, if you really like Star Wars, it's going to be very fun. You're going to get your money's worth. And if you're playing that way, you don't need to get all the different core sets. You can get like one and go get some data packs. Not data packs. Did I call them data packs in the review, in the walkthrough? I think I did. Data packs are for Netrunner. You get the little force packs, right? Whatever they're called, the packs of cards. You can get those, and you can have fun with it. You can play these little cinematic adventures and all that kind of cool stuff. So take a look at it. It surprised me. So if you're still on the fence after this much time, you know, maybe take another look at it. I know it's like a year or two late, but hey, they sent it to me, and Keith sent it to me, so thank you very much, and it's very fun. So take a look. Thanks.